What is up, everybody? This is Cam, and today we're going to be doing a full analysis and breakdown of how to look at a property in terms of development potential with the new middle housing zoning laws. So, I have on the screen pulled up a property that's in an area called Maple Leaf. So, if you look here on the map, kind of zone out, you can clearly see it's right in the smack dab of Maple Leaf. Maple Leaf is just North Seattle. So you have Ravenna here, you have Wallingford here, Fremont, Ballard, Magnolia, Queen Anne, Montlake, all these things downtown core Seattle here. Okay, so this is just north of Seattle, an area called Maple Leaf. It's right by Northgate Mall, which is right here, and I-5, which is right here. So this is a great area. And today we're looking at this property. Don't worry, it is off market, but we're going to look at it in terms of, well, what can you do with it? What is the lot? What does it look like, right? So as you can see, there's people who built townhomes here, and there's commercial here. And so this is a very interesting area. There's commercial here, okay, and you get all these homes here. Okay, so this is the property right here. This is the address, 840 Northeast 95th. It is not on market. It is off market. But this would be a really great property. And here's why. So it is a big house, 2450 square feet, that's placed right in the front of the lot with a driveway that goes to the back of the lot already there. Also, look at the lot size, 7,624 square feet. That is awesome. This is probably one of the more ideal parcels of land with NR3 zoning in Seattle that you could buy. And for this one, because the house is large and it could use some remodels, you could probably just keep it as is. For some of the smaller homes that are kind of in the middle of the lot, which I can show you on the map right here, if we go to the satellite imagery, there's some homes that are kind of right further back and they're kind of right in the middle of the lot, and that makes it much harder to actually build on, right? Here's another one that would be a good development for a DADU, but the home's right in the middle. So this is the back of the lot right there, and then this is the front of the lot, and the home's right in the middle. So for this one, you would need to demolish the house in order to really extract the highest and best value for this parcel and you could build like an SFR up here in this corner, keep the driveway, and then have two DADUs back here in some configuration, right? So you'd have two DADUs and one single family. So you could get 3 units on this lot, but the only way to get 3 units and still have space between the units is to be demoed this house. For the home that we're looking at today, which is right here, this one, it already has a driveway. And you could say, oh, they already have a DADU. Well, perhaps. But this one could easily be replaced because, or you could do another one here and you could do a DADU over here. Now you'd lose this yard, but I believe this line is inaccurate. I believe the lot goes all the way back to this fence back here. So there's this whole corner back here. So what does that mean? So you could have 2 access. You have access here, access here. This is an amazing parcel, ladies and gentlemen, because you can keep this one, build it out, keep this as a DADU, keep this home, and then you could build another DADU here, and each home would have a yard and parking and space, and you do a 1-car garage for this one. I'm not sure if this one has a 1-car garage, but this is an ideal lot, right? Again, you lose this, but you just turn it into a yard. And again, the home could be back here, and you could have it with the 1-car garage here. So then this would have this yard here. It would be back here in this corner, and it'd have this whole space here. This home would have this whole space here, and this home gets this whole space there. They'd kind of share these spaces, and you're going to do a fence line kind of in between, zigzag here. So when you're looking at these sort of properties, it's important to look at, okay, all sorts of different elements. So another example that's really attractive is if we can find something that maybe has an alley, right? Because what do alleys do? So look at these ones right here. Now, all these ones already have units or something in the back, right? Look, this one has a garage unit, garage unit, garage unit. Now, this one could also be good, but you could probably only fit one DADU back here. This one, again, coming from the opposite way, but you could only fit one DADU back here. This one, if you did this one, this is actually ideal. You could fit at least two DADUs on this lot. Let's look at this one, 9622 97th Street. Or it might be 12th Ave. 9622 12th. Nope. Okay, it's going to be the other one. 96th. Oh, I don't know. I messed up. I'm not sure. But anyways, you guys get the point. So if you kind of find ones like this one right here, oh, look at this one. This one has an alley. This is 1044 Northeast 98th. Okay, let's look at this one. This is another great lot. 1044 Northeast 98th. 1044 Northeast 98th. Okay, there we go. Perfect. So this is a tiny home here, right? It's off market. This is what it looks like. You can see some people there when Google drove by, or whenever, Redfin. And so this is the lot, right? You have an alley here. So you could probably put, and then let's look at the lot size of this one, 7,663. So for this one, because of the house, it might make sense because this is such an ideal lot. It could make sense to actually demo this house. And you can see it goes from here all the way to here, and this is an alley. So this one would make more sense to demo the house and put 4 units. You could do like 4 cottages, 4 DADUs, whatever you want to call it, like single family home, DADU, single family home, DADU. That's honestly what I would do. And I think they're doing something similar here. It looks like they have 3 units. They have a slab here, and a slab with framing here. So they did the exact same thing. But they did 3 units here. So maybe you do 3 units on this one as well. But look, so you got to demo this house though. So when you're looking at these sort of deals, you got to know, zoning code. You got to look at if there's any wetlands, if there's any steep slopes. You're going to have to pay for a survey. You want to make sure that there's utilities here, which there is. And again, bonuses if it's on an alley, because then you have access from this way and you have access from this way. So this lot is huge potential. And what we're going to do is we're going to move on to the actual costs of a DADU and kind of go from there. So let's go click on over this, if it will let me. Let's see here. Okay, so what we have here is we have a build cost estimate. Now, some of you might be like, oh, these numbers are a little bit high. But for the example, I'm going to go and shrink this too. For the purposes of this video, we're going to be looking at the costs. And this is a standard 1,200 square foot living space, DADU, 201 car garage. And it's a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bathrooms, 2 stories in Seattle, Washington. So here's the breakdown again. Flat lot or alley access for this one. Time frame 10 to 14 months. That's including permits, right? So that's including feasibility. That's including permits. So basically, once you buy the land until you have a finished product, it's 10 to 14 months. Why is it 10 to 14 months? Well, because to get a permit is going to take 2 to 3 months. And then you're going to have about 5 to 6 months of where you're actually building the product, right? A couple weeks of site work, 5 to 6 months of building the product. So that's realistically like 9 to 10 months, I would say. 10 months, 11 months is very, very, if you're being conservative, very realistic. So again, feasibility study, site analysis. You could basically have somebody else do this. Your architect could do this. So this would be zero cost here. You're going to need a boundary survey for sure. This one's going to be somewhere probably in the middle between 3,500 and 5,000, I would say. Your architectural design fees, it depends on who you're working with. I would say your architectural design fees should be less than 22,000. I'm going to say somewhere between 18,000 to 22,000. So again, this number is going to be a little bit lower. Structural engineering, I think it is going to be somewhere in that range. MEP, so that's mechanical, electrical, plumbing. So mechanical, electrical, plumbing, plus civil engineering. I think that's a good range as well. Plan sets, permit ready documents, again, same thing. This would be included in your architectural design fees, so you can just erase that number. And so this number is going to be probably closer to 30,000, maybe 34. Okay. So then you go down to permit fees. Now these building permit are probably going to be total for all of these. This is very realistic. $17,000. I know it sounds like a lot, but honestly, it includes all of these. And I've seen it go for more for a single DADU, and I've seen it go for less. So it really just depends on the city and the design and the location. But I would keep this number 15, 17, 20 even for all of these things. Definitely is within reason. Then you go on to the actual site work. You have all these costs. I do think this is going to be in the middle. This is going to be in the middle, probably closer to the high end for that. Foundation, again, going to be higher end. All this stuff. It's probably going to be somewhere in the middle, maybe closer to 40, 45. I would say is 45 to 55 is probably more accurate for this. Okay, utility connections, again, I would say at least $20,000, and then probably closer to 25, maybe even 30, depending. If it's here on this site where I showed you where it's the alley, it's probably going to be less. It's probably going to be on this low end, 17 to 18 to $19,000. Then you have your vertical construction costs. So full vertical construction is going to be around $300,000, $250 a square foot. So that's without a GC fee, just so you know. But this includes everything. Slightly above builder grade finishes, so we could do higher end LVP flooring, shaker cabinets, 3cm quartz countertops, higher end paint, higher end siding, siding, hardy plank siding, 3-tab composition. Maybe you do architectural shingles as well, so it's a little bit higher end. So this affords you a slightly higher than what a lot of builders use. Some builders will go to $220 a square foot, but then they start putting in vinyl flooring, just a vinyl roll of flooring and carpet, and it wears down super fast. They do like a 2cm quartz countertops. They do cheaper cabinets, cheaper lighting packages, cheaper HVAC units or mini splats, cheaper siding, cheaper drywall. They'll do a 1/2-inch drywall instead of 5/8 inch, which is what we do. They use cheaper insulation. Everything they do is cheaper in order to get this build cost down. In my personal opinion, I think that quality is more valuable and better than going the cheapest possible route. When you do quality, you can have a $250 per square foot build cost just for the vertical that allows you to use better licensed electricians, licensed plumbers, licensed HVAC contractors, licensed roofers. All these people, licensed people for the foundation, having at least one licensed framer on site, a lead framer, and having basically one lead subcontractor for every single different task or job, right? Specialty trade. So this is your rough cost for that. Again, you have contingencies and carrying costs. These do not include sales tax, so you have all these covers numbers here. And so here's your, projected costs for pre-construction. So your site plan, your feasibility, all your site work, your permits and fees, utility connections, vertical constructions, contingency and carrying costs, $472,000. Now again, I think you'd probably get it closer to $450,000. So $450,000. But again, a lot of these are worth $850,000, $900,000, especially in this Maple Leaf area. And so, and if you can build more, if you build 3 units on one site, these costs will actually go lower. So you're probably getting closer to like $400,000 per unit, each unit being worth $850,000 or more. You're talking about $400,000 to $450,000 spread. Granted, that's before taxes, that's before closing costs, that's before commissions, and it's before other costs. But this includes carrying costs here too. Okay, so you got talking, let's say $400,000 being realistic per unit, though, times 3 units. That's $1.2 million before closing costs, commissions, and taxes. This is one of the best and fastest proven methods to build wealth in real estate. You have to be smart. You have to hire the right people. You have to not cut corners. Cutting corners can set you back timelines. I know some people who went for cheaper builders, cheaper materials, cut cheaper architects, cheaper designs. They cut every corner they could, and what happened? Their 220 square foot build costs ended up ballooning to over 240, 250. Their timeline got blown up by 3 to 4 months. They were going to do 5 months. They got blown up into about 9 to 10 months. And also they had to go back and do a bunch of reviews and repairs from the planning and permitting department because their subs that they were using were not that good. And they didn't have a lead person taking ownership and responsibility for that trade to be a guide and a leader on the field day in, day out, running those subcontractors and running the tradesmen and the people actually physically building the home. So it's very important. Okay, so there you go. So there's your cost breakdown, site analysis of a real property, and I hope you guys enjoyed. If you like this type of content and you like learning about DADUs and build costs and numbers and site analyses, please make sure to like and subscribe, and tell others. Thanks, everybody.